Guys, I'm rereading ACOTAR again for like the sixth time. Yeah, sixth time. And you can see some of like the highlights I did last night, like just the fun ones. Um, but I had a epiphany kind of, and it doesn't really even have anything to do with ACOTAR. I was just I was missing ACOTAR Cassian because we all know that he was like ruined in Akasif. And I was like, well, Cassian almost died once. Or actually, he almost died twice because he almost died once in the war and in Akasif when the queens like took over his body or whatever. And I was thinking like maybe one of the queen's powers was to like sense vulnerabilities, which led me to thinking that Sarah J. Maas is definitely going to kill off Cassian. There's no other person it's going to be. It's going to be Cassian. And I know a lot of you are going to get mad at me for saying that, but it's the truth. Because not only did he tell Nesta, I've walked beside death my entire life, but Cassian is the only Fae that we've seen so far that has a non-Fae vulnerability. Do you want to know what that is? Part two. Part two. So, as I was saying, Cassian is going to be the one that gets killed off because he is the only person in the ACOTAR universe so far that we've seen that has a non-Fae slash non-immortal vulnerability. And I'm going to tell you what that is in a second. But the fact that he told Nesta that he's walked beside death his entire life, and that's pretty much why they were mates, because she was like the queen of death. You have to remember that she doesn't have any physical powers anymore. She might be able to do spells. That's another thing. I think she's a witch. But she doesn't have any real physical powers anymore because of her thing with the cauldron. But Cassian has allergies. Like, I'm all into the spring court stuff, so I was like, oh, I was just running through my brain, like, I wonder if anyone would ever visit the spring court, like, when it's up and running for Cal and May or whatever. Then I was like, Cassian hates the spring court because he has allergies, and then I was like, he has allergies, which is weird, because that's a human thing. That's not a Fae thing. And there's has to be a reason that Sarah added that in. Allergies can be deadly. And part three. As I was saying, allergies can be deadly. Like, my aunt has a peanut allergy, and like, she would go into full-on anaphylaxis if she ate it. Like, some allergies can be very deadly. And even like, some people are like deathly allergic to like certain types of flowers or like a bee sting and stuff like that. And Cassian's the only person who has a mortal vulnerability like that. And there has to be a reason. But also I was thinking that he's going to be the one that Sarah kills off, not only because of that, because he's almost died twice. We know Sarah's lucky number is 3. 3 sisters, 3 bat boys. Her lucky number is just 3 throughout most of the series. And not only that, but Cassian's character arc is pretty much over. And anyone could argue, oh, well, so is Nesta's, blah, 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 blah. But Sarah has basically told us that she's going to have Nesta have kids. So I think she's going to kill Cassian off, and then Nesta's going to be pregnant. But that's a whole other thing. It's also going to be Cassian because in Akasif, everyone knows he was different in Akasif. His character regressed. It didn't develop. Cassian's character regressed in Akasif. He had no character development. He went from being completely loving and I will find you in the next life, Nesta, to laughing at her falling down the stairs, choosing Reese's feelings over Nesta's mental health and physical health, bringing her on the hike. And that was just very weird to me. And I was like, why is she ruining Cassian like this? Like, he was nothing like this in ACOTAR. But then I realized, going with my theory, he said his final goodbyes to Nesta in ACOTAR. He said that whole speech where he was like, I will find you in the next life and we will have that time. But he just didn't end up dying. And not only that, but we already had solid proof that Cassian was going to be the one to die. We have Elaine's word. Elaine, the seer, remember that? And I know everyone argues, oh, well, she said that, before he almost died in the war. No. She said that after his wings were shredded and they were healed by Magia. He came into the tent and he said, it'll take a lot more than that to kill me. And she completely deadpanned, no, it will not. So it's going to be less than getting his wings shredded, like an Allard. And I know that technically he almost died afterwards with Nesta, but that had nothing to do with Elaine. Elaine didn't stop it from happening. She jammed the thing through the Hybern's neck or whatever, but everyone credits Nesta with killing Hybern, not Elaine. So her saving Cassian doesn't really go to Elaine because he was still bleeding out. It technically goes to Magia for healing him. And secondly, going back to Cassian telling Nesta like his final words and I'll find you in the next life, I think that SJM had that moment there when he doesn't die because Nesta's going to miss his actual death. I think that because she's the emissary to the human lands, she's going to go on her first solo mission, and Cassian's probably going to have some sort of allergic reaction. I think the queens are going to find out what his weakness is from the Spring Court, and, I don't know, either poison his food with it, or, rub his clothes in it, like his leathers or something, and he's not going to be able to breathe or anything, and because he's the jokester, I think the IC is going to think it's one big joke until he passes out and, dies. So, the other thing that I was going to say is that, why would the queens care about Cassian, do you ask? Why would they target Cassian, do you ask? Why wouldn't they just go after the High Lord, do you ask? Because they're preparing for a war, and who better to take out than the literal general of the army you're going to be fighting? What use is an army without the leader of the army? He's the Illyrian leader. Take out their general, you basically take out their entire strategy, right? And also, on another point, because I'm super scattered, it's going to be Cassian just because, like I said, his arc is already over, and his character has regressed, and Elaine has predicted it, and he's already said his goodbyes to Nesta, and the queens would want him gone for the war. They have cauldron magic. We saw how powerful Nesta was with cauldron magic. We saw how powerful Elaine can be with cauldron magic. We don't know what type of powers the other queens got. We only saw Brialyn use the trove. And Brialyn's dead, thank God. But we don't know what other powers the queens have. Yeah, so the queens are going to kill Cassian. That whole thing with Brialyn taking over his body to fight Nesta, I don't think that was about Nesta. Because Brialyn already basically had everything she had. The entire blood rite was about Nesta. So taking over Cassian's body wasn't about Nesta. That was about Cassian. That was a test run to get to the general. They wanted to see how easy it would be to take over the general. That was a practice run for when they're actually going to kill him. And not only that, but Sarah J. Maas hasn't killed anybody of significance in the ACOTAR series. She's killed people of significance in the TOG series, like beloved characters. She's killed beloved characters in the Crescent City series. And I know there's all these rumors that, like, Hunt is gonna die, but honestly, in a book about necromancy, Hunt is gonna be brought back. Let's be honest, it's Sarah J. Maas. She wouldn't kill Hunt, she wouldn't kill Reese, she wouldn't kill Feyre. Let's be honest. But she will kill Cassian. All of the signs are there. He's a beloved character, and maximum publicity is what I was saying. If she kills Cassian, think of the uproar on social media. Think of everyone who's going to be tagging her, everyone who's going to be talking about the book. I mean, come on. Classic strategy. But going back to the queens killing Cassian because they want to get to the general and all of that, I still believe that one of the queens has the power to sense vulnerabilities, or even to see threads of mate bonds, because in order to get to Nesta, they used Cassian. And during that whole fight scene montage with Briallyn, you have to remember how much Nesta was fighting for him, and then go back and realize how much Cassian was fighting for her in the other books. So the queens know that mates are mates, you know? So I think that they're gonna lure him using some sort of threat to Nesta. If they don't do it sneakily using their powers, I think it's gonna be them threatening Nesta, but I don't think it's gonna be actually Nesta. It's gonna be some sort of ploy or some sort of, like, magic fake scenario. You have to remember, these queens were smart enough to lure Eris, and Eris has had probably, like, bone-breaking sort of training from Baron to be a High Lord. Not only that, but, like, strategic political training, and he could not overcome these queens. And then he was tortured for it, but, you know. Also, they could just glamour someone to look like Nesta. I don't think, if it's Hybern power, Hybern magic, or Cauldron power, I don't think he would be able to see past a glamour like that. So that could be a way that they lure him, and then poison him with whatever he's allergic to. All they would have to do is figure out what flower he's allergic to, and just, you know, feed it to him, or put it in something, or rub it all over his clothes that he wears, somehow, some way. But yeah, he's a goner, guys. I'm sorry, but he's a goner. He's gonna die, and then Nesta's gonna find out she's pregnant, and she's not gonna be able to drift that far into depression because she's gonna want to take care of her baby. But yeah, tragic, but it's gonna... Also, I just thought of something as a little aside to my little Cassian rant. I think maybe that's why she added in Balthazar being a part of the Right, because Azriel would never want to be the general. He's already a spy, and he's already a shadow singer. He already has too many titles. He's not going to want to be the general of the Illyrians, especially because he hates the Illyrians. And in ACOTAR, when Cassian is leading the Illyrian troops, it mentions that there are glowing siphons of red, blue, and green. I think Balthazar's siphons are going to be green, and he's going to be appointed the new general of the Illyrian army, as well as the liaison to the Illyrians for Reese, the High Lord, which absolutely tracks, because in Akasif, during the Right, when he helps save Nesta and Emery, he says outright, like, I'm only going to kill people I have to kill. Like, I much prefer politics over killing. So he is already, like, politically astute to take over this role. And I think he can actually help reform Illyria, and I think he could do that with Emery by his side. But yeah, I think I think that's absolutely, now that I'm thinking of it, that's absolutely why she added Balthazar into ACOSF. Because he's going to be the next Illyrian general and the liaison to Rhys for the Illyrians. And he's going to try to reform Illyria. And I wholeheartedly believe that that's where Emery's arc is going to take her. Because who better than an Illyrian male who respects females and loves politics, and a female who was abused by her culture to help reform the entire culture? That's absolutely perfect. And a nod toward that happening as well, since I just talked about Balthazar's siphons being green, is Emery's friendship bracelet. You know how they all had their colors, like Gwen's was blue and teal and white, and Nesta's was other colors or whatever, but Emery's was green, purple, and gold. And green could be a nod to helping reform Illyria with Balthazar, whose siphons are green. Purple is like royalty, so she could be like maybe the next lady of Illyria. And gold is royal too. Keeping it going because I'm in a very ranty mood, and other than the fact that I personally ship Balthazar and Emery because I don't think Moore deserves her, you also have to think that Emery is the very first Illyrian Corinthian blood right winner in all of history. And Balthazar is probably an Orestian. So that could also go toward them reforming Illyria because it proves that females can basically do whatever the males can. And that I know that really pissed off the people in Illyria, but that could be like a huge talking point for Balthazar. And I think he would love to just throw it in the faces of those males that don't respect females. That, you know, well, my partner here, like, is a Corinthian and I didn't even make it to Corinthian. And I think that would just be an awesome talking point for him to throw in their face. It would just be amazing. I mean, please. And just him liking politics, I think he's going to know how to sort of play it to reform them. And obviously not all of the older Illyrians are going to conform or whatever. But I think they could make Illyria a lot better and a lot safer for the females and stop clippings once and for all. And not only propping up Emery as sort of this Lady of Illyria, I would love for them to be Lord and Lady of Illyria. Just because, can you imagine Devlin's face? Oh, that would be great. But I think that they would make it a lot more accessible and a lot easier for the females in Illyria to train when they're younger, because we know that Devlin was like, do your chores and then you can train, but he was working them to the bone so they wouldn't have any energy to train, and that shit's gonna stop. Like, that shit is gonna stop, or, you know, they're gonna report back to Rhys and Rhys will make it stop. But I have no doubt that Balthazar could handle Devlin, because, come on, he's a prick, but but yeah, they're gonna make it so much better for females to start training if they want to train. And I think they're also gonna have a choice of whether they want to be in the Illyrian ranks for Illyria, or if they're not comfortable with their culture enough to, you know, represent it, they will also have a choice of whether they want to train as Valkyries for the new Valkyrie legions. Not only Rhys, but all that really has to happen is for Emery to tell Nesta that Devlin is still being difficult and not letting the females train. And all Nesta has to do is march down there with her fucking spellbook, like her witchy spellbook, because she is a witch. Moore proved it in ACOTAR. Go see my highlight on my Instagram page that I highlighted last night. All she'd have to do is march down there with her fucking spellbook, and be like, I'm gonna cast a spell on you if you don't let these girls train. And he'd be done. He'd be like, okay, okay. Like, he was afraid of her touching weapons because she had her period. Like, he's fucking stupid. But not only that, I think I have a personal headcanon that Nesta and Cassian only have girls. If Cassian dies, I think she'll probably be pregnant with twin girls. I don't know why. Twin or triplet girls. But they're gonna be girls. Because Nyx is a boy. And honestly, I don't know, I just think Cassian is, like, potent enough to have twins or triplets. I don't know. But I think when Nesta's down there, like, fighting Devlon, she comes across, like, this orphaned little boy Illyrian, and she adopts him. Because that little boy reminds her of Cassian's life as a kid.